Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Emily, and today I have a different kind of video for you. Today I'm going to be reading a book with my buzzword in it. And what that means is that I have a spinner wheel with a bunch of different buzzwords of mine in it. So for example, I have like enemies to lovers, I have books with gin, I have multiple dimensions, so just a bunch of different things that when I hear in the synopsis of a book, I am drawn to it because of that kind of buzzword. But I just wanted to say that I had to refilm this intro because this video was going to be a lot different. I was going to read a bunch of books with a certain buzzword at a time, but some of these buzzwords don't have that many books that I have in my possession with them, so I decided that I was just going to have my spinner wheel and I would spin it once and I would just read one of the books that I have for that buzzword and just make like a little reading vlog for it. Something easy and special, and I'd try and make it non-spoilery as I can. So I did start out this vlog already. I have already read one book, but I needed to refilm this intro because I think a few times I mentioned like, oh, this is the first book, but it's only going to be the one book, and I had already picked out the buzzword before I made the spinner wheel. But I did get on my first spin for the spinner wheel when I was screen recording the word that I actually did for that book. So I will insert that clip here. Okay, and so as you can see, the buzzword for this video is Viking/Norse mythology. I've always been drawn to Vikings ever since I saw the Viking TV show. I absolutely love that show. And anything just like Norse related. I've read Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, and I have a bunch of other like different books with Norse mythology in it. And I've also read a few fictional books that deal with this topic. I've read Beyond a Darkened Shore by Jessica Leek. I've read Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levenseller. I've read Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. This is probably so far my favorite book that has the Viking/Norse mythology buzzwordy kind of stuff in it. I have read this I've read this about 2 times. I do want to reread it one of these times. I will say that if I get to a buzzword and I have a reread that I want to read, I will try to reread a book and read another one so that you're getting a little more content, not just something that I've already read. Because that one has The Girl the Sea Gave Back by Adrienne Young as like a companion to it. I think it's set in the same world, and I think one of the characters from that book are in this book. I could be wrong, but I know that this has some of those feels to it. Another book I have is When We Were Vikings by Andrew David MacDonald. Sorry, I haven't taken the sticker off yet, but obviously it has some Vikingness in it. I do think that this is like a literary fiction, but it has a stunning cover. And it has Vikings in it, so I had to pick it up. I also have Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. I've heard that this is really slow, but it's definitely got that Norse mythology kind of feel and Vikingness into it. Take a shot every time I say Viking/Norse mythology. Seriously. I know that there are some others. I know that there's the Goddess of Nothing at All, which deals with Loki and one of his wives, and then there's another one, I can't remember, I'll put it here, and that one also deals with Loki. And then there is a romance book I have, I think it's like North of the Stars or something. I'll put a picture up here. And then the last one that I really wanted to get to, but I didn't get to for this video, is Malice by John Gwynne. I hear so many good things about this, and I'm hoping that the next time this comes around that I will definitely pick up this book. Super excited for it. But the book that I ended up going with is Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. So I will move into the vloggy portion of this. So it's been a few days, but I finally picked a book that I was going to start with, and I decided to go with Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. This follows Hessa, who is an Angie, a battle-hardened priestess of the goddess of war, with the power to turn an enemy's bones to dust with a scream. Banished for disobeying her goddess's command to murder a traveler, she prays for forgiveness. But while she is gone, raiders burn her town to the ground. Grieving and alone, Hessa, the last Angie, must find the traveler and atone for her weakness. As clans from the north and legionnaires from the south tear through her homeland, slaughtering everyone in their path, Hessa strives to win back her goddess's favor. Beset by zealot soldiers, deceitful gods, and newly awakened demons at every turn, Hessa burns her path towards redemption and revenge. But her journey reveals a harrowing truth. The gods are dying, and the high halls of the afterlife are fading. Soon Hessa's trust in her goddess weakens, and with every unheeded prayer, Soon Hessa's trust in her goddess weakens with every unheeded prayer. Thrust into a battle between the gods of the old world and the new, Hessa realizes there is far more on the line than securing a life beyond her own death. Bigger, older powers slumber beneath the surface of her world, and they are about to wake up. I'm 30 pages in, I'm listening to the audiobook while following along, and it pretty much follows the beginning of the synopsis. We have Hessa, who is a disgraced priestess who has been exiled for ignoring a vision from Aang and breaking a vow. I have a notebook here, I just wrote down my notes. She led a traveler into the hall, not knowing he was Algat, which is one of their enemies, I think more towards the north of them. And while at the shrine of her goddess, war horns sound from her home down the mountain, but by the time she makes it down there, everyone is pretty much dead. She finds her husband, Eater, and her best friend, Iske. They're all dead, and she wasn't there to help fight, and so she's kind of blaming herself. But she finds a baby who is named Vistik, and his mother, who is Sixnit. These names are interesting. But when she finds them, you know, the baby's kind of weak, the mother's like unconscious, and these Algat soldiers, whatever you want to call them, kind of surround them, so they surrender and they are captured. We find out that the Algat came down the mountains because they were pushed out of their homes by the Arpa legionnaires, who are below the Angie to the south. So Hessa's kind of confused as to why they went that far north to begin with, so there's kind of a mystery there. Hessa kind of feels like the only way forward now is to find this Algate traveler and kill him, and I think she keeps calling him Omascat, or Omascat, I can't pronounce it, but I believe that's what the name is, or that he gave her. So she thinks in doing this that it will salvage any hype of redemption and a reunion with her loved ones in the halls of the gods, and that's as far as I got pretty much. I will say that this is focusing a lot on the religion, so if that bothers you, maybe don't pick this up or go into it being cautious of that. I'm only 30 pages in, and it does focus on that a lot. I'm happy I have the audiobook because I think it would have been harder to just read it without it. So far it's okay. I am intrigued, not a whole lot, but I'm going to at least obviously give it 100 pages, I believe, and hopefully things pick up more from there, and you know, more things happen. So I am enjoying this a little bit, but I heard that this is slow, and I don't really want a slow book right now, so I'm kind of sad about it, but I am going to give it to 100 pages, and if it's not working for me, I'm just going to put it down and pick up something else. But that's where I'm at with this one, and I will check back in with you. Maybe I'll check back in with you when I get to 100 pages, and I'll let you know my thoughts further on into the book.
Excuse my hair. Nothing I can do about it right now, but I officially made it 100 pages into this book. Things started to really heat up in the first chapter I started reading from, and I actually really started to enjoy it. So she was captured by the Algat, and she was essentially sold, and the surprising part was she was sold to the traveler that she was supposed to kill. Again, that's like within the first 30-something pages, so it's really not a spoiler, but I will try to be very careful not to spoil you guys. But she ends up getting away, and she kind of arrives at this other god's temple or like sacred place, and she meets new people, and she kind of talks with them, and they all have like different gods that they believe in, and something happens at this festival, and an old god emerges, and this god's temple that she's at has to fight this old god who apparently is only a servant, so the fact that he got out from the binding he was put in by the 3 new gods is like alarming to the new gods. And Hessa is catching on that there's something going on, there's more going on, and that she doesn't have the whole truth as to what happened between the old gods and the new gods. And we finally got to see like this battle between like an older god and the 2 new gods. And the only thing that's like really bothering me is the fact that Aang, Hessa's goddess of war, still doesn't forgive her for not doing what she was asked to do, and she constantly reminds her of that, like, we get it, we know. And I know that it's wearing on Hessa. You can definitely like see how much it bothers her, but she is starting to have doubts now. Her beliefs are coming into question, not a whole lot just yet, but it's like cracking her armor of her religion and like her beliefs. And I think we're obviously going to probably delve deeper into what's true and like what's really going on, and hopefully we're going to get to see some more of the old gods. Yeah, so I'm actually enjoying it a little more. It kind of slowed down again, so I don't know if it's going to be like an action and then slow down and an action. So I'm kind of getting that feeling, because you kind of get that at the beginning and then it slowed down, and then this happened and then it slowed down. So I'm just going to take it little by little. I'll probably try to read another 50 pages tonight if I can. But when I get to like 200 pages, I'll probably check in again. But the writing is still really good. It's very descriptive and flows easily. The character of Hessa is, you're getting to know more because you're also getting like past point of views from her and then the present. So, you know, it's just hard. This book is hard to talk about because it's not super easy to follow sometimes, because there's so many like different names and characters that she's encountering, and you know, her beliefs are being challenged. So you're kind of going through the doubt with her, but at the same time she's still really, I don't want to say mopey, but she's still hanging on to the fact that she was exiled and she's trying to get back in with her goddess, and meanwhile she's starting to have these doubts. So I know I keep repeating myself, but I'm just kind of like trying to explain it in a way so that you guys understand, because I'm still a little confused if any of this makes sense, but I am enjoying it a little more. I'm going to keep going on through it. Like I said, I'm going to try and get 50 more pages into it tonight, and then when I get 200 pages into it, I will check back in with you guys. But that is my update for this book. I made it to page 200. Still enjoying it. I will say, like, in the past, like, 2 chapters, I got a little confused. I think I wasn't paying attention as much as I should have been. But Hessa's still continuing on her journey to try and find the traveler again and do what her goddess asked for her, but she is becoming more and more doubtful of her goddess's intentions and the mystery of the old gods and, like, what happened to them and why her and her people really don't know much about the old gods. But they're starting to come back and demons are starting to show up, and you know, she's just meeting new people and she's gaining different perspectives because she, I don't believe, left her land at all before any of this happened. So I'm really enjoying seeing everything through her eyes, so we're kind of learning along with her, and I really like that aspect of this. The writing is still amazing. The characters are great, even though there's like a million and the names are so hard, and I feel like half of them start with the same letter. not all of them, but some of them do, and I'm just getting them a little confused. But definitely enjoying this more than I was towards, like, the beginning. I'm happy to be halfway through this book. I'm hoping to finish this by tomorrow. Today it's Thursday, so I'm hoping to finish it by Friday. I will update you. I'll probably update you when I've finished this book, because at this point, anything I talk about will be spoilers, and I don't want to spoil anyone, but I think I've given you a good enough review so far up until the halfway point of what this book is, and when I get to the end, I will fill you in on how I felt about the rest of the book and what I rated it and how it sits in my buzzword part. But I will check back in with you when I have finished this book. So I finally did it. I finished this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really ended up enjoying it. This was definitely a unique fantasy from what I've read. So it's hard sometimes for me to get my thoughts into words. So I just want to, like, re-go over this book. Follow girl Hessa. She is a priestess to the goddess of war, Aang. And she is exiled when she does not follow one of her goddess's, like, commands to kill this traveler. And she ends up going up to the temple of her goddess, and in doing so, she is not in their village when it is attacked and everyone is dead, and she makes it down there too late to help anyone. She finds her husband dead. She finds her best friend / I think stepsister dead. The only people she finds alive is a woman named Sixnet and her newborn son, Vistik. And they are surrounded by the Algate enemy, who slaughtered their village, and she's taken captive. And the only way she feels like she can redeem herself and get revenge is to find that traveler that she was supposed to kill, and that is really what's driving her through the entire book. You know, we follow her traveling this whole continent pretty much. I will say that some of the cons I had about this book were that, you know, she would have something happen, a battle or something, and then she would be with people, and then she'd be on her own. And then something would happen, she'd find someone new to travel with, and then she'd be on her own. So it was kind of like a repetitive thing that kept happening. Also, this was very focused on religion, like I said before. And wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy that aspect of it, but I actually really did. It was confusing. I think I would understand this a little better upon a reread. And I will say that if you like romance in your fantasy books, even like just a tad bit, this does not have it. So, going to this book with that knowledge. Also, it's slower paced and there is some repetition in it, but I still really enjoyed it. It had very beautiful writing. It has some really good descriptions of the world, and there's kind of a large cast of characters, but really you only get to know Hessa. You don't really ever get to know a whole lot about the other characters to really care too much about them, because they're there and then they're gone, and then they're there and then they're gone, and it's just, like I said, repetitive. Hessa was a very nice character to read from her point of view. You get to see her struggles with grief and, anger and sadness and her feeling of being like inferior to her god, being not enough, not good enough, and a failure. And it was nice seeing a character go through that and not just like getting over it quickly. You follow her doing this throughout the entire book, and it's nice to see that a book shows you that grief doesn't just go away, and it felt realistic in that. It did annoy me a little bit how the goddess Aang would just kind of like shove it all in her face, into Hessa's face. That really annoyed me, but I think that was part of that character's character development. But I also really liked the fact that the gods were present in this world. So like most of the time they're kind of just like in the background, like you don't ever see them or anything. It's just talked about, but these ones are like actually involved, and it was so interesting. And like when I started this, I wasn't sure if this was gonna be my kind of book, but after finishing this, I definitely would reread this. I listened to the audiobook. The narrator did a very good job. Highly recommend the audiobook. But yeah, this book was just so unique to anything I've read. So if you like characters with some in-depth feelings and a slower plot and some unique religion systems going on and some interesting world building, then this book is for you. It's not going to be for everybody, but if you like adult fantasy, I would highly recommend this, at least to give it a try. Give it like 150 pages at least. I'm so glad I kept up with this. So as far as the Norse mythology and the Viking aspect goes to it, I think that this book did a really good job of that. It felt very Norse mythology inspired, and it felt very Viking-esque in the way that the battles were fought and how the gods were represented and goddesses were represented. And I just really enjoyed this book. I believe this second book comes out on February 1st. I will put a picture of it here. I definitely will be picking it up. I know that this is a standalone. The author has said that, you could just read this one and be done with it. It does have like a completed feel ending to it. And the second book is kind of like a companion to this one, but she said that you do not have to read the first one to read that one. It stands on its own. It takes place 10 years later, and you do, I believe, follow Hessa again. So I definitely want to pick that up sooner rather than later, because I don't want to forget anything, because this was such a, I don't want to say info dump, but that's like what it felt in my head, trying to follow all these characters and gods and remember everything. So look out for that one in my videos coming up. I'm sure I will be talking about it. And so I think this one was definitely a hit. It hit Viking aspects and Norse mythology pretty good, and I think that this was a good pick to start this video off with. Okay, so that was my video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was definitely fun and unique way to get me to read other books, maybe a little outside of my comfort zone, but that have buzzwords in it that I really love in books.
But I loved doing this video. So like this video down below if you liked it. Comment down below, let me know what some of your buzzwords are. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye.